Sexual assault is something that I think, if we're being honest with ourselves, we've all heard the term, but it's not necessarily something that we always think very deeply about or really look at how it impacts our daily lives or how it's represented in the media. But in fact, estimates are that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience sexual assault at some point in their lives. And those numbers actually increase even more when we're thinking about people of color, people with disabilities, and trans people.
Let's break down a typical sexual assault story. First of all, whenever we hear about sexual assault on TV or in the news, the word rape, a term that refers specifically to some sort of penetrative act and is often associated with extreme physical violence, is usually the default terminology. Next, when we hear about the people involved in this sexual assault, the person being sexually assaulted is typically female, and the person doing the assaulting is usually portrayed as a creepy male stranger. We also tend to hear a lot of reasons why someone would sexually assault someone else in these media depictions, and most of them have something to do with sexual attraction or some sort of sexual fulfillment. And whenever we hear about sexual assault happening between two people who know each other, it's usually chalked up to some sort of misunderstanding or miscommunication. This ultimately leads to the cause of the sexual assault being attributed to something that the survivor did, like drinking, dressing provocatively, walking alone at night, leading someone on, or, in other words, asking for it in some way. This typical portrayal of sexual assault isn't actually all that typical. And most of it's downright false, as it's based on some pretty outdated ideas and myths. You see, we live in a rape culture, a society in which common attitudes, norms, and practices tolerate, normalize, excuse, or outright condone sexual violence. When we buy into the negative stereotypes, we unintentionally support attitudes and norms that tolerate and excuse sexual violence instead of challenging these harmful assumptions directly. And when we aren't challenging rape culture, even if we know in our heads and our hearts that sexual assault is bad, we're allowing it to continue, which means we all feel its effects. That's because within the realm of rape culture, sexual assault is only one part of a larger system of sexually violent comments and actions that exist on a continuum. That means rape culture isn't just about forced or unwanted sexual contact or having someone violate your most intimate sexual boundaries. It's also about things like inappropriate sexual comments we get on public transit that make us scared to step off the bus. Or how it feels when a coworker's eyes linger a little too long on our bodies instead of our faces. This is how rape culture operates. An important first step we can each take in challenging rape culture is to learn more about how to stop sexual assault in our communities.